Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, and I've been with them for a long time. BetterHelp is an online platform where we found that you can effectively communicate with your therapist. Now, you begin by filling out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And if that match isn't ideal for you, you can certainly make an adjustment there. Now, you're going to be encouraged to journal, and also they have the availability for group therapy on a wide array of topics, and I really like that. So as the need exists, go ahead and take the necessary steps to get the help that you need. And just know that BetterHelp has a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, so it indeed is a platform you can trust. There's a link below the video that will take you there. If you've been attached to a narcissist for any length of time, then you know that there's this element that we call the trauma bond. You can be so tied to that person with respect to your emotionality and your quality of life that the very trauma that they create and then perpetuate becomes part of who you are. It gets on the inside of you, and it defines you in ways that you don't want to be defined. Let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about, and then we're going to be talking about how you can manage that. I mean, for example, let's suppose that sometime that you might live with somebody who's uber critical, and it generates lots of arguments, and there's never a satisfactory outcome, and yet the next day there that person is again, and you can just rinse, cycle, and then go through it all over again. Or it may be that the individual in your life that gives you trouble is a chronic liar, and you know it, and yet you can't pin that person down. They are a keeper of secrets, and they continue to do that, and that creates its own strain and difficulty. Or perhaps that person is a gatekeeper to other relationships, and if you get rid of the narcissist, other relationships might have to go by the wayside, and so you feel like I'm having to jump through that person's hoops so that I can have access to kids, grandkids, friends, and other kinds of circumstances like that. It could be that narcissistic individual has addictive tendencies, and as a result, you suffer because of that. Or it could be that person's anger is out of control. Sometimes it can be cruel, sometimes it can be loud and outlandish, sometimes it can be that cold silence and stonewalling. So those are some of the things that I'm talking about that generate the trauma bond. You don't want to experience those things, and yet at the same time, sometimes you can't get away, or like I say, even if you are away, they're still inside your head. Now, in order to get beyond the bonding that you don't want to have with that narcissist, we're going to need to look at a concept that I've mentioned before. It's called radical acceptance. And in order to get you to the place where you understand fully of what radical acceptance is, I want to walk you through 5 different options that you have when anger is a part of your life. So, and the reason I'm doing this is because whenever you have this dysfunctional relationship with that narcissist, that person is going to carry lots of anger and lots of contempt, etc. And then it's going to trigger you in that emotion, along with other emotions too, like grief or shame or just agitation in general. And so the more you have a well-conceived plan about how you're going to manage that, then the more you can get to the point where you can accept what's in front of you. Now, real quickly, I'm going to just mention, when you feel anger, keep in mind that anger is your emotion of self-preservation. Anger taps into your sense of well-being that says, I need to stand up for who I am. I need to stand up for my worth, my needs, my convictions. But then when that emotion does show up, you still have options with respect to what you're going to do with it. For example, option number 1 is you can suppress it. You can think, oh, I've tried this before, to be angry and out loud with my emotions, and it doesn't work. So you hold it in, and of course it rots on the inside and it turns into something that's no good. Option number 2 is you can become openly aggressive. And by that, I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm going to say what I need to say, and I'm going to try to let that other individual know in no uncertain terms how I feel. And so you can be very harsh and mean-spirited and argumentative and loud and abrasive in the way you talk to that person. There's a strong probability that person has done the same to you. A third option you have is you can become passive aggressive with your anger. And it's like, okay, I don't want to suppress. I don't necessarily want to be openly aggressive, but what if I'm just deliberately non-cooperative? And there are all sorts of ways that you can let that person know silently that they may think they're going to get some sort of coordination with you, but it's not going to happen, and you can go into the passive aggressive route. Now, those are three options. They don't work very well. But then the fourth option you have is you can be assertive. And there are times when you can say, I am going to stand for my worth, my needs, and my convictions, but I want to do it in a way that's constructive. And I want to have a sense of decency and civility in my delivery. And that's a good way to do it. There's a problem there, and that is sometimes, most of the time, the narcissist isn't going to like that. They're certainly not going to reciprocate. And so you can be required to hold on to your assertiveness and then turn it into behaviors and actionable points and initiatives, knowing that the narcissist is not going to be too happy, but nonetheless, you can stand firmly on who you are, and that's a good option. But then the fifth option, and this is the one I want us to hold on to that's going to take us into the place of radical acceptance. The fifth option is you can appeal to your higher priorities. The narcissist wants to keep you in disarray. They love it when you are emotionally turned up or twisted into knots. But at some point, it's like, you know what? I don't want to just stay tethered to this person. I don't want to stay in a reactive mode to this person. I have better things to do with my life. And I want to stand for goodness and honesty and civility and respectfulness. I want to be an understanding person. I have higher priorities, and I need to get there. And sometimes assertiveness can help you get there. Sometimes it just, the assertiveness falls flat. And yet you still have the option of saying, I'm going to appeal to my higher priorities nonetheless. And the key that's going to take me there is going to be my radical acceptance. Now, I had a comment from a guy that heard me talking about forgiveness and accepting and all like that. And this person just let me know, well, if I just accept the person that's right there in front of me, all that means is I'm a weak person. That means I've quit. And I just cannot accept that which is unacceptable. And I understood where that guy was coming from, but then the rest of me says, okay, well, then what other options does that leave you with? Well, you have the option of not accepting life's ugly truths. You have the option of trying to force feed the narcissist to go along with you. You have the option of punching that person in the face or kicking them in the groin. That's a possibility. Not a good one. You have the option of running a smear campaign if that makes you feel better. You have the option of yelling and being coercive and arguing a whole lot. And you can hold a grudge and you can keep that person in contempt. Any of that sound very appealing? And the answer is no. The net result when you go in that path is you're miserable. And then ultimately, the narcissist still has control over you as long as you hold on to your contempt, etc. So one of my favorite lines that will help us understand how to get to this place of radical acceptance is, and that is the best way to be in control is to cease trying to control the other person. Okay? Now, there are multiple ideas that you want to hold on to as you go into this direction. First, to get to the point of radical acceptance, you want to say, I openly acknowledge humanity's brokenness. It's ugly, and yet it persists. I cannot make humanity's brokenness go away. It will not disappear. On top of that, you can also acknowledge I understand the strong potential to be under the narcissist's spell as long as I hold on to my contempt or my bitterness. I can do that. I can be bitter. I can be contemptuous, but then I'm going to be under that person's influence. I see that. That being the case, because of the narcissist's caustic initiatives, I'm in pain. In fact, that pain may accompany for a long time because it's real and I don't need to deny that. Now, nonetheless, I've decided, or maybe it would be stronger to say I'm declaring, I refuse to allow a depraved person to be the primary driver for my personal stability. I hope you heard that. I am not about to hand over my powers to that person and say, you're in charge of making me feel good because that person's going to screw it up every time. Yes, we'll acknowledge I've been a victim. And yet I don't have to permanently cling to my victim's status. I don't always feel okay, and yet as a person, I still have strength to draw upon from the inside out. I am a survivor. I'm meant to thrive despite the narcissist's contrary preferences or desires toward me. And then ultimately this, the narcissist owes me no allegiance. It's hard to come to terms with that, but the bottom line is that person has a free will, and if that person gets to do whatever they want with their life, and it can include hate and misery and bitterness, that's where they are. And I know that by accepting that truth, it can be costly, and yet there it is. My ideals will not always be realized. I'm not an ideal person. I don't live in an ideal world. And yet at the same time, I'm also going to acknowledge my ideals can still guide me towards the better way of life. I just realize that it's never going to be perfectly or fully realized, and I need to come to terms with that. As I detach from a troubled person, then I can freely attach to the person that I was meant to be from the inside out. That's what we're talking about that's going to help us get to that place of radical acceptance. When you see that individual who's a miserable individual and wants to bring you down, and they want to keep you tied to them through the anger and through the bitterness that exists, I'm hoping you can say thanks, but no thanks. That's a game I don't want to play. I am letting go. I can no longer afford to receive your poison. That's radical acceptance. It can have a cost that comes with it, but the upside is you get to move forward being the full you that you were meant to be. You may wind up walking with a psychological limp, and that's something you'll need to come to terms with. But at the same time, the only way that you're going to have any kind of peace in your life is to be free from, like I say, that truly toxic person. You owe it to yourself. Now, I hope videos like this can give you some good things to think about. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please do so, and we'll keep more videos coming toward you. As you heard in the intro, I have my sponsor, BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. You know I'm a big believer in therapy, and as the need is there, please go through the link that we have below and see if you can find somebody. You'll get to choose somebody that can help you sift this through. If the need is there, go through the link. In addition, as you go to my website, you'll find that I have my online courses. They're very extensive. Each course has at least 25 teaching videos with handouts and guided questions. In addition to the courses, we also have my webinars, 90-minute PowerPoint presentations, along with my articles, my books, other things that would be there for your benefit. I really appreciate it when you allow me to be on the journey with you. Now, you can stay bonded to the narcissist through anger and through bitterness and through arguing, etc. Or you can hold on to the radical acceptance that says, I see what it is. There's some things I can. There's some things I cannot change. I get it. What I can do, though, despite some of the pain that I might carry with me, is I can move forward as the best version of myself, given the circumstances that I have. I'm hoping you can choose that path. I don't want that narcissist to have a grip on you for the duration. You deserve better. In doing so, I hope that it helps you or allows you to get to the place where you feel more and more steady and released and free. And then in the end, yes, indeed, you can be a person of peace.